This is Antonio Mejorado, and this tutorial is uh, to use a little more the for loop and to use for loop to accumulate values in a problem. Okay, so let's suppose that you want to get the addition from 1 to n, which is a positive value. Okay, to get this addition we need a loop, that is for sure, and in that loop we need a counter that has every different value in the loop from 1 to that n value. But at the same time, we need another variable to the total to get the addition, okay? So while this I counter has a value smaller than or equal n, that total should add the I counter value. So I total should begin with 0 and should add every I counter value. So if I initialize I total with 0 and I counter is 1, I total will be 1. Next time when I counter is 2, I total will be 3 because 1 plus 2 is 3. So when I counter is 3, I total should be 6 because 3 plus 3 is 6. When I counter is 4, I total should increase by that 4. So 6 plus 4 it will be 10. At the end, you will have a previous value added with n will be the total value of that whole addition. Okay. So let's see how we use that in a program. Okay. So let's suppose we have this main program, this main function that has two variables, in, which is the number given by the user, and I total, which is the total to get. Okay. Let's suppose that we have the getInt value function with a message to get the value from the user, and then we have the adding values to get the addition of all these values from 1 to n in another function. So we store that addition into IT, and then we display the total of IT by using another function. Okay, so we have three different functions, and actually I already wrote getting value and display total. Okay, getting value, it's a function that gets a value, and if the value is negative, it displays an error to the user, and actually that error should be with n line. That will be better. Then while the value is smaller than 0, it displays it gets the value again. Okay, at the end I return the I value, which is the value given by the user, and remember we have the string as message. Okay, so then I have the display total that displays a total message with I result value, which is the parameter. So we have to complete this adding values function that gets a number as parameter. Okay, so we need a loop, and I should use a loop, but before that loop I gotta define my total variable. So initializing, oh my god, initializing total to 0. So I will say integer I total equals 0. Okay, then use a loop. Using a loop of counter from 1 to I number, which is the number given by the user. That is my parameter. Okay, so that will be 4. And see something, most of the time when we use a loop and we need a counter, and that counter only will be valid for that loop, I could define that variable inside. So I will say integer I counter equals 1, and then the condition while I counter is smaller than or equal my number I number semicolon, and then I counter plus plus. So I increase I counter by 1. Remember that we are using a code convention. In my code convention, I gotta use the curly brackets. Always I use a loop. So in my loop, I gotta add uh, adding the counter to total. So I total will be plus equal my counter, I counter. Okay. So that will add every number from one to number to I total, and at the end I will returning the total. So that will be I total. Okay, that's your function now. So we gotta initialize the total. We we should use a loop that has a counter that begins with 1 and stop until it is equal to n. Okay, so when it is equal to n, you add, but the next one will be something bigger, so you stop the loop. Okay, and I counter increase by 1. So if I compile this program, it compiles, and then if I execute it, it asks for the end. So if I give a 3, from 1 to 3, the addition will be 6. 1 plus 2, 3 plus 3 is 6. If I compile that program, if I execute it again and I give a, no, I don't know, like a 5, that will be 1 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 6 plus 4, 10 plus 5, 15. Okay. And I think the validation, I don't know why am I compiling this again. And if I execute it again and I give a negative value, like -4, it says it must be positive. Okay, so I have to give a positive value. Okay, so that's the way you use the for loop, adding values. You gotta define a counter. It could be any variable. Begin with the initial value. While this is smaller than or equal something, you add that value to the total. Don't forget that your total should be initialized to 0 before the loop, because if you don't initialize that total, it will compile, but it will have some value inside the total. Remember, we are working in C++, working in C++. Not any variable is initialized to 0 or something like that, so you gotta be careful. Before ending this tutorial, I just want you to know that some some people, some books, and some people used to have more than one thing inside here. Like, for example, if you want to initialize this a variable and another variable and something, you may use that by a comma, okay? And if you want, you may have some other thing here, like adding counter to 1 and maybe decreasing another variable. You use a comma here, okay? Uh, it is possible, okay, but it's not recommendable. It is not a good practice in quality, because you may have these 4 with a lot of statements inside, and you won't understand everything. I mean, you as the coder, the one that code the program, yeah, you will understand that today, maybe tomorrow, but maybe in 1 month you won't remember anything. And if you didn't comment that, and it's so hard to comment, like 6 or 8 statements in only 1 4, like this, it's more like useful to have this one, like having this. Suppose that you have this total in here, that will be crazy, right? So yeah, so it's not a good practice to have more than the initialization for the counter, the one that is in the loop, that is used in the loop, the condition, and the increase or decrease for that counter. Okay, if you need another counter, initialize that before, increment that or decrement that after in here in the block of the loop statements. Okay, and that's it. Okay, and don't forget that the condition is very important to stop the loop. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and use this for loop. It's gonna be easier to use this for loop whenever you have these kind of additions of knowing numbers, math additions, and all that stuff. Okay, see you guys. Bye bye.